Hello and welcome back to the Business and Banter Podcast. My name is Hanley. I'm a car part reseller from Scotland, and with me is Sam, a clothing reseller from Australia. And we also have someone on screen that most of you would recognize, Tech and Sports. He is our mentor. He's in the group that we're in, the Reseller Greatness Podcast. That's how me and Sam met. But most of you will know him from his YouTube channel. He was the #1 used clothing reseller in America. Or
In
was
the
it
world,
the
Hanley.
world? The whole world.
This is
But
a worldwide podcast, so it's the world.
the world. He doesn't really need an introduction, and I couldn't give him one that does any justice anyway, because everything he's done speaks for himself. But we are so honored and so excited to have him on the podcast. He was one of the first ones who encouraged us to do it. So it's just fitting that he should be our first guest.
Oh, what an honor. I am very honored to be the first guest. I beat Johnny B, which is all I want to do in life, is just beat Johnny B at everything. So he could be guest number 2. And it's an honor to be on here. You guys, you know how much that I appreciate the both of you, and you know how much that I'm rooting for you guys on a daily basis. And that's all that I'm here for. I just want to see you guys win. And every single day that you guys win, that's a win for me. So happy to be on.
We talk, obviously, we all talk quite a lot in the group as well. We talk a lot about reselling things. But over the last few weeks on the podcast, me and Sam have been talking a lot and exploring a bit more about what does life, where do we want to take this? Like, we've got the basics down. We know how to source. We're listing the items. We're growing the business. But that can become like an infinite loop if you don't have some kind of plan or some kind of idea of where you're going. And it's really interesting because you have actually kind of progressed out of that loop of the list, the sourcing, the listing, the sending, that we're doing in. So we wanted to pick your brain a bit today because we get a lot of questions about what's after reselling, or how do we get out of that loop. So if you're doing the reselling successfully, how do we progress from there? Because I personally just keep hearing people go, you should do property, you should invest, and that's great. We should learn about those things. But I struggle with, how do I identify ways or opportunities to move forward?
So I think first and foremost, if you are doing reselling correctly, you should have a boatload of money in your bank account on a daily basis, because the margins that reselling affords us are hysterically humongous compared to everything else. In a conventional business, if you're up 2% or 5%, like, you hit a home run grand slam. Like, in reselling, you can have a 400% margin or 1,000% margin in 60 days or 90 days. So, and I talk about this a lot with Isaiah, and you guys know Isaiah. He's a great guy. And, now he's finally, like, after a lot of prodding and pushing, he's finally coming around to accepting these larger margins. And every morning he'll send me a message and say, I sold this item for $60. And, like, that's very exciting for him because he's used to, $7, $10, $12 profit. And for him, once he gets to this point where his business is allowing him such margin, he's going to be able to put money into his bank account, and he can break out of that cycle of kind of being like a paycheck to paycheck reseller, which is fine if that's what your goal is, but that's not his goal, so that's not fine. So for him, he wants to have this money to invest. He wants to do these other things. And with the margins afforded to us by reselling, it is the best way to multiply money in the entire world, where I utilized the machine. Clothing was my vehicle to put $5 in, get $20 profit out. And if you could do that 20 times a day, that's $400. If you could do that 30 times a day, that's $600. And, 20 listings, 30 listings, like, that's not back-breaking, 24/7, all-consuming work. And the amount of payoff that there is, you really and truly wouldn't have to do reselling for an extremely long time in order to build up some kind of bankroll in order to go do something else with. Now, can you do reselling forever? Absolutely. Will I resell something in some way, shape, or form forever? Absolutely, because I just like selling stuff. Like, I don't like playing golf. I don't like going to fishing, but I love going to the flea market. So for me, I will always go to the flea market. I like finding cool stuff. I like selling stuff, and I like making money, producing money. I really love doing that. So I think, reselling is great because it offers such a variety of chances and opportunities for people where they can build any kind of business that they want around the life that they want to live. But from my personal perspective, like if you're doing it right, you have boatloads of cash coming into your bank account for on a daily basis on your payouts. And Isaiah, he had like an awakening a couple of weeks ago, and he said, yo, you weren't just making money at 250 a day. You've been making money your entire eBay career. And I said, yes. And he goes, okay, yeah, let me get back to you. And what I'm looking forward to the most with Isaiah is he sends me these sales of $60. He's very proud of this right now, which is great. I'm waiting for the day where he wakes up in the morning and he already has three $60 sales. That's what I'm waiting for. And then I'm waiting for the day where he doesn't send me the $60 sales anymore because they become routine.
It's something that I've noticed within the community, the Australian community anyway, is that because you don't necessarily talk much about the other businesses that you pursued outside of eBay and funded through eBay money, there's a bit of a misconception that you built this beautiful eBay machine and then you didn't diversify out of it. And that's why we thought it'd be really interesting to have you talk to some of the other businesses that you have, if you'd be happy to discuss them and how they fit in with your eBay and what eBay was able to provide you with that opportunity.
Sure. I was actually thinking about this last night when I was getting the trash can. This is like an eBay podcast, so I only talk about eBay. Like, yeah. I love working on eBay, and the version of me that you guys see is the super serious eBay guy. But I have a lot of fun too. Like, I do a lot of other stuff, but like, this is not the place or the platform for that. So like, if I came on here and talked about my landscape company for an hour and a half, like that, this is not the platform for that. I need to go on like, landscape and banter. I need to go on a different platform for that. So like, if I want to talk about fun stuff, like the eBay podcast is not the platform for that. So it's kind of weird, and I understand it because it's only like 1 hour snippets of like me super serious talking about eBay, like world domination. So like, I get it, I understand, but like, just like every other person, like there's many different facets of my personality, who I am, everything that I have to get done. So like, first and foremost, I'm a father. For a large portion of that, I was a single father. My son is 21, almost 22 now. I've been with my wife for 15 years. So she came into his life when he was around kindergarten, first grade, and she's been a humongous help. When I was a single dad, I worked at CVS, which is a pharmacy chain, nothing serious. And I was pretty much a glorified cashier. I was a cashier who also did the photo lab, the processing of the film. And I had a young son. I started there at 18 and I worked there for 5 years until I was 23, until he was 5 years old. And during this time that I was working at CVS, I also, in the morning time before I went to work at 12, and I used to work from 12 to 10, 4 days a week. So I would work Tuesday through Friday, and I had off Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, which is unheard of in retail. But I had the best manager in the world who knew I was a young father, knew I had him on the weekends, and knew I had a full caseload with school and a school schedule. So in retail, to get Saturday and Sunday off is unheard of, every Saturday and Sunday. And also to get Monday off and have the opportunity to work 4 days a week, 10 hours a day, and still reach, my 40 hours. I was going to school in the morning time at a vocational school, so like a trade school. Like people were learning how to weld, people were learning how to become electricians, things like that. And it gets you to like the basic certification. So that way, then you could probably go and apprentice somebody or something like this. Mm-hmm. So 5 days a week from 7 in the morning till 12, I would go to school for computer repair, learn how to fix computers. That teacher would allow me to leave an hour early so that way I could drive an hour and go to work. Because my son lived an hour away from me at that time. So I used to work up by him because that's where I was from, and I moved an hour away. So I was going to school for computer repair. After I went to school for computer repair, I took a leap of faith and got out of the pharmacy job, and I got a job for Circuit City, which is the competitor to Best Buy. You guys have Best Buy? Are you familiar?
No.
Best Buy is like a big box electronics store. They sell laptops, they sell TVs, they sell iPods, iPhones. They're like a big box electronics store. So inside of Best Buy, inside of Circuit City, they used to have a little place in the corner where you could bring your computer to get repaired. So I got a job at Circuit City, and their version of Best Buy's Geek Squad was Circuit City Fire Dog. And you can bring in your computer, you can get it repaired. We would do diagnostics, run tests, do repairs, things like this. 2 weeks after I went to school for 4 or 5 years to get computer repair, Circuit City filed for bankruptcy. So here I am. I went to school for all of this time. Any job you need, of course, you need 2 years experience. Well, how do you get 2 years experience without having any experience? Like, I'm trying to get into these entry level jobs, but they want 2 years experience. So my idea was, let me work at Circuit City for a little while and let me put out applications, whatever. But 2 weeks later, they filed for bankruptcy. So I was really, really, really at a crossroads where, this company was shutting down. I didn't have 2 years of experience. I have a young son. I thought at the time I was making fantastic money, $16 an hour. Like, I was seeing paychecks I've never seen in my entire life, where when I was working at CVS, my take home pay for 2 weeks was $314. So like, it wasn't anything. Like, I had $7 at the end of the week to take care of me and take care of my son. So Circuit City files for bankruptcy. And one of the best things that I ever did, and we had about 250 computers still in the bay as we filed for bankruptcy. And once we filed for bankruptcy, the manager walks over and says, hey, we're no longer insured to work on computers. Call all the customers to have them pick up their computers. I said, okay, great. So we called everyone. They start coming in. They're confused. They don't know what's going on. We don't know what's going on. It was a very different time back then as well. This was 2008, which in the United States was the home loan financial crisis, where the stock market lost 50%. A lot of people were losing their houses because back then they were giving out what's called ninja loans. Ninja is no income, no jobs, and you can get any loan that you wanted. If you were a teacher making $20,000, you can get approved for $1 million house. That's why everything crumbled. It was no income, no job approval, ninja loans. That's what they used to call them. So the entire world was burning down. We were filing for bankruptcy. I call every single customer to pick up their computer, and I don't have an answer as to where they can go. A lot of people are telling me, well, I don't like going to Best Buy across the street. I had bad service. Sorry, I apologize. We can't do anything for you. And a couple of people saying, well, can't you just like do it on the side? Like, you're about to close. I need somebody going forward. And I said, yeah, sure. Why not? Like, I asked the manager said, I don't care. So I started giving out my phone numbers to people that were picking up their computers. And then I got business cards. And the best thing that I ever did was put my business card inside of every single laptop that came to get picked up. And I started doing some jobs of computer repair in people's homes. Started getting into repairing some networks for people, because this is 2008. Like, this is the stone age of consumer laptops and things like this. But one of the luckiest things that ever happened was one of the people that I did fix the computer. She was on the, I guess, homeowners association or the board of a very, very big retirement community, like over 50 community. And she put our business card on a thumbtack on a cork board in the community center. And every single person from that community center called us to fix their computer, to teach them how to receive their email because they want to see pictures of their grandkids. Sometimes even just to come over and really talk. Hey, I don't know how to use my computer. So we would go there and we would help them use their computer. So I grew that business pretty quickly to have 3 employees. And those guys were guys that I went to school with the vocational. So my first business was repairing computers. And the business is still going, but as with everything technology related, we had the heyday. The heyday was, 10 years ago, where now you can pretty much buy a brand new computer for the price that it would cost you to repair it. So we do a lot of data migration now. get your old information off of your old machine, put it onto your new one. But now with cloud, cloud saving and things like that, like even that's going away. So that business has done great. We have a great clientele. We have a great book of business, which has a tremendous amount of value. But that was the first time that I had to get out on my own and go out and get my own money. And through that is how I discovered eBay, where people had broken computers, people had broken phones, broken iPods, things like that. And we would kind of give them credit to the bill and in exchange for their broken equipment because they couldn't use it anymore. So I used to sell a lot of broken equipment, a lot of broken technology onto eBay. And that started my eBay, quote unquote, entrepreneurial journey. And then with eBay Money, I went on to build a bunch of other businesses as well. So I know that's long-winded, but that's the story on how I started my first business. A lot of being in the right place at the right time, and a lot of taking advantage of situations by maybe thinking one or two steps down the line.
I love that story.
But it's not. I think when people think of you, they think eBay and clothing, and that's what you did, and that's what you built. But I know a bit about the other businesses that you started as well, and most or almost all of them start from being able to identify an opportunity, like you said with the computer, where I think a lot of people are trying to go out of their way to find or learn about opportunities, especially me. And you have to be educated on it. I understand that, but most people that I talk to that were able to diversify or get into new businesses was by identifying opportunities. And we can do that in our own reselling business because you also have the reseller ruler, which you created out of a necessity in the business. Yeah. We have someone else in the group who's now doing their own product because they saw a need in their reselling and that other resellers have. Like, I think there's opportunities in our own businesses that we can also use to diversify.
Absolutely, sure. And our business itself is an opportunity. Our business, at the very core of it, is not about selling a car part or selling a clothing item. It's about the convenience of getting the customer the item without them leaving their home, which that is an opportunity for, a lot of people is still untapped enough where it could yield a lot of people, a very fantastic living. So opportunities are everywhere and opportunities are around us. And I think that, for a lot of people, we walk around life with these blinders on, and maybe we take the world at face value for what it is. But once you really realize that you have the ability to wake up and produce money, then you magically start to see these opportunities appear everywhere. So one of the other businesses that I started once I started doing well on eBay was I had a friend who worked for a lawn care business, and he would always tell me, we would go to the flea markets together. He would buy toys, I would buy clothing, and we would kind of hang out at the flea market. He would always tell me all this money the owner was making, these jobs we were doing, what they were charging. And he had 10 years experience on the lawn crew and landscape and all of that at this time. So like he knew his way around the business. And he would always mention like, hey, we should start a lawn company. You buy all the stuff. I'll work for you. You be the owner. I'll handle all the day to day. And one day there was an actual very beautiful lawnmower at the flea market, and it had gone through the storage unit process where they failed to pay their unit. And it was like a $10,000 mower. The guy was asking $3,500. I think my friend got him down to $3,400. So once we bought that mower, that was me taking the leap into starting the lawn company with him. And so we bought a mower for a couple $1,000. We bought a Ford Ranger truck for like $1,000. And then we bought a trailer for like another $1,000. So all in, we were into this thing for like $5,000 or $6,000, just see how it goes. And I thought, you know what, if this doesn't work, I could just sell the mower for $7,000 and I can still turn a profit on this deal. So like he said, he'll work it. I'll be the owner. I buy the equipment. I can come out and work this and that. And that's what we did. We started out with a couple of yards. We started out working on the weekends. We started out, working after I was already done with all of my work. And we ended up growing the business to what it is today. We have over 300 yards. And then that business, because of other opportunities, have spurned these other businesses where, I saw the opportunity for cutting grass because grass grows every single day. Like that is the most amount of job security that anyone could ever want in the world in South Florida because it rains, it's hot, and the grass is always going to grow. And I was very intrigued by the every month reoccurring billing because you don't have to always acquire a new customer. Now, do people fall off and you have to grow? Absolutely. But for the large part, a lot of them do reoccur. So you kind of get this mailbox money on the first of every month when people pay their bill. But inside of the landscape company, people would call us for estimates and they would say, hey, we have some trees. Do you want to cut them? And we weren't certified to do them. We didn't know how to do them. And I would always give the job to somebody else. And the person that I was giving them to, it's industry standard to give the other person 10% for the job. So if I give you a job for $1,000, industry standard, you give me $100. I got tired of chasing the person around for my industry standard 10%, and I was tossing them thousands of dollars of jobs. And it got to the point where it was an expectation and they weren't as appreciative. So, I'm like, okay, let's just start doing these jobs ourselves. We have no idea what we're doing. We're two yahoos in a truck. We'll figure it out so long as we don't die. So the tree service happened because I got tired of telling people we don't do that. And I thought the tree service was a very, very safe business because why? I already had access to 200 customers at the time that were already doing business with me with the grass. And just like grass, trees will continue to grow. They don't need to be cut on a daily basis or a weekly basis, but maybe once or twice a year. And that's still reoccurring customers. So I knew day one of this business, we already have the option and opportunity to pursue 200 customers. They already know who I am. So that business ended up doing great. It does really, really good. We have a lot of residential and commercial clients. It does great during hurricane time because everything needs to be cleaned up and we have contracts in place for this. But this is an interesting opportunity that I have identified with the tree service. So in South Florida, we have coconut palms, and there's coconuts, they're as big as your head. If they drop on your head, you will clock out and die. Like they kill people every single year. They smash people's windshields. They can become a hazard. So we have to trim the coconut palms. We trim them for $50 each, and then we got to put them into the truck, and then I got to drive all the way to the dump, and then I have to pay the dump to dump the coconuts, and we have to pay by the ton. So if I'm charging $50, maybe we do a minimum job of 4. We're in and out of there in 2 hours. It's $200. I got 2 other guys with me. I have labor. I have gas. I have wear and tear. I got to go pay the dump, and I'm dumping these coconuts. Well, I always used to drive past this guy. He was a Trinidadian guy, and he always on the side of the road used to sell coconuts. He used to sell coconuts for $2. And I said, you know what? I'm paying guys to throw away coconuts. So I pull over one day, I talk to him, I chat him up and say, hey, I have access to so many coconuts it would make your head spin. And eventually we got to the point where he started buying the coconuts for me for $1. So he would come to the job, he would buy our coconuts for $1, and then I'd see him on the side of the road. So now today in 2024, I make $100,000 a year just selling coconuts for $1 to a guy where I used to throw them away. So that is an opportunity. And, all of these opportunities spurned from doing good business, having access to good clientele. So now where we have 300 houses, I get tired of telling people we don't do sprinklers. So then I started a sprinkler company. I get tired of telling people, hey, do you know a friend or someone that can do pressure cleaning on my roof or driveway? Because I got hit by the city. I got tired of telling people that. So now we have pressure cleaning. I have 300 houses. 75% of them have pools. So now I can approach them and say, hey, we can do your grass, we can do your trees, we can do your pressure cleaning. If you have any sprinkler issues, we can handle all of that. I can also give you a 10% discount on your pool service. I know you're paying 100, pay me 90. I know you're paying 74, pay me 63. It's going to be one click on the computer, end all be all. You can pay all of your bills with one click. People like convenience, people like me. So it's very easy to close those deals. And I started the pool service with a $600 or $700 Ford Ranger, about $1,500 worth of equipment, and that's it. And I got on the phone and I called 300 people in one weekend. And in one weekend, I had a fantastic pool service where, again, I was a Yahoo with a pool service, but I figured it out. So all of these things, there are opportunities everywhere, but all of these businesses did start because I unlocked this magical thing that we all know of putting $5 into the eBay machine and getting $20 out. So another misconception is that like everything that I have and like, I am extremely fortunate, but like everything that I have and like eBay was always like supplemented by the businesses, but that is the opposite. My house that I'm sitting in right now, which is a beautiful house, my cars, this shirt, every single thing that my family has is from eBay money. I did not increase my lifestyle to bajillions of dollars because all of the other businesses were doing well. Every single thing, my lifestyle amount, everything that I have is based on a budget of eBay. Because back when I was doing computers, my eBay business surpassed what my computer income was. So I always lived on my eBay business, and then my computer business grew after that. But the rapid income and the rapid profit that eBay affords us, I started living off of my eBay income and started banking and saving all of the computer money because I wanted to expand the computer business. So I always kept that money separate. And my living money, paying for my son his entire life, every dollar that went to take care of him, every dollar that's went to take care of me and my family for the last 15 plus years is from eBay. So I have built an eBay business. I have lived off of the money. And then all the excess money I put back into more product, which spits out more money, where then I can have money that is above what my personal bills are. And then I can save and invest that into all of these other businesses. And that's the way that, in a nutshell, I've chosen to find these opportunities and deploy the money that reselling has afforded me.
I find that so inspiring. Like the fact that you've been able to do all that while, as you said, being a single dad, and the realization, and like, I don't know personally anyone else that looks at things and views things in that way, where you've turned things that are an annoyance, which is you having to chase someone else to get a 10% like a finder's fee. We call it a spotter's fee.
I don't like to be crossed, or
I
get all the fire from that.
Yeah, but you turned it into a positive. You took a negative and spun it into an opportunity. I've always been really curious as to how you split your time and how you split your focus, and you've never dropped the ball with eBay. You've always just been able to stay laser focused with that. I split my focus with only a couple things, and I find that if I'm not very careful, I drop the ball.
Mm-hmm. So because eBay has always been something that I did after work or in addition to work, I've had many different iterations of an eBay schedule. So when people say, what's the best time to list your items? It doesn't matter. I've listed my items at 2:00 in the morning, at 10:00 at night, at dinner time, at lunchtime, in the morning, and I still got sales. And I've had to do long stretches of those different iterations because eBay has always fit around the schedule of the other businesses, and most importantly, the schedule of my son and my family. So I think that we can identify these problems, but we have to have, again, we have to be actively looking for them. And the way that I'm able to do it is I do everything in a straight line and I don't stop until whatever I'm doing is finished. So someone asked me yesterday, and they sent me a message on Facebook from the group, and they're like, you know what, I apologize for even sending you this because I know you're very busy. I know you get a lot of messages. And I responded really quickly, and they say, how do you respond to everything really quickly? And so a lot of stuff, especially messages, I respond to them as quickly as possible, because if I don't, then it becomes a huge task. Like then it actually becomes a task instead of just getting after it and jumping on it when it's there. And then I could spend, an hour and a half responding to messages. But so I kind of keep a running clock on all of that stuff, whether it's Instagram, whether it's responding to messages on Facebook or email, or responding to the YouTube comments. So I just constantly have this circle of stuff where things need to get done, and then I'll come over here, knock everything out in a straight line, and then I'll go to the next one, knock everything out in a straight line, go to the next one. And then when I'm done with the circle, I start back in the beginning. So like I have all of these circles of different things, and responding to messages is one of the circles. So I'll start on Instagram, Facebook, run through all the questions in the group, respond to all the comments on YouTube, and then I'll go back to the beginning. Okay, great. Nothing on Instagram, nothing on Facebook messages, no new messages posted in the group, no new YouTube comments. And then I can let it refresh for a little while. And it's the same thing with eBay. Like you have that little circle over here, you have that little circle that needs to be done over there. But when I start something, it's not, let me take my pictures for eBay and let me also talk on the phone. Let me also talk to this person. Let me also go on my phone. Let me also do something else. When I'm taking pictures, I'm taking pictures, and that's it. When I am, doing something, that's all that I'm doing. And then after that, I can move on to the next thing, because, and that was one of the biggest takeaways that Arwen had when he came here, and he's from the UK. He said, when I work, because you can't work and play. If you work and play, then your work and play takes all day. I want to get all of my work done as quickly as possible, and then I want to go play. Like I want to do other stuff other than work. So I try to knock it out as quickly as possible, as efficient as possible, as best as possible. And then after that, bang, it's finished. And then I could go do something else. So it's very difficult to do something in addition while you are working. And if you do that, it's going to take double, triple, even all day. Whereas if you just got your work done, then you can go out and you can go do whatever you want. And that's the approach that I've taken. That's what works for me. I know that, some people, it's hard to focus on tasks for a long time. I get it. But for me, I have a lot of success with focusing my attention on something for a very long time until it's finished. And all of these long times are subjective with their own respect to the timeline that it needs to be. So again, I have all of these circles and I have all of these things going, and some things I have to work through for 10 minutes and then I'm done and then I move to something else. With eBay, I had to work through that for 15 years. And then once I ran the race, completed the race, okay, I'm finished. I got to go do something else. But I didn't stop eBay, go do something else. Stop eBay and come back and go do something else. No, I had to run my race. I had to get it done. I had to get it done in one shot. And then once it's done, bang, like that, it's over. And then I can go do something else. And so for me, I got to work all of my stuff in a straight line. And then and only then can I go to the next project or go to the next thing.
That's so interesting.
Struggle, right? So you, as Sam says, the way you see things and the way you identify things and the way you do things that's remarkable. But if you're not like that, you're not like that. Right? So for instance, you're able to see all these opportunities. Is that something that comes with experience, or is that just a personal trait you have? Because I would probably have missed a lot of those opportunities if they were to come along in my life. Right? So is that something that some people just have a knack to see these opportunities, or do you get that with experience? Because you couldn't have had that much business experience at your first job at CBS.
No, I think that I think some of it can come with experience, but I think some of it does come naturally. And forever, my entire life, I've always found the way, the least resistance to the end goal or the prize that I was looking for, always my entire life. Where my mom, she told me, she said, you're going to be one of a couple things. One is you will be in prison because you're going to look for, that shortcut to get the thing that you want is going to be too much of a shortcut. So you're either going to be in prison, you will be a politician, or you will be a millionaire. So luckily for me, I chose the last one. Like my mom knew that since I was a little kid. She knew no matter whatever I put my attention towards, that I was going to be fully successful in doing it. And I my first recollection of kind of figuring out the system and figuring out how to beat the system and find the best way that worked for me, my earliest recollection of this is in 9th grade algebra class. And I remember the book. It was a red book with a red cover with a funky spaceship on the front, where halfway through the spaceship, it kind of turned into like some sort of 2D diagram. And I remember the first day of school, I was flipping through the book, and the introduction to one of the chapters was real world application of what you will learn today. And it says real world application of what you will learn today. You will utilize what you learned today as a pilot in interplanetary space travel. I don't need to learn this. I am never going to be a pilot on an interplanetary space travel. I don't need to learn this. No, thank you. And I started flipping through the rest of the stuff. And for me, algebra was very challenging. Geometry was easy. I can do geometry. Algebra was very challenging because algebra, you are solving for unreal numbers. That's very challenging for me. I am a realist. I am black and white. There's no gray area in my life. So it's hard for me to go out of that box and solve for something that's not real. For whatever reason, I never made the connection to that. But if you want to do, the Pythagorean theorem on triangles, I'm all in. I get that. But with algebra, it was very hard for me to grasp that. And I knew that I was going to struggle doing this. I can't comprehend it. It does not make sense to me. And I'm never going to be the pilot on interplanetary space travel. That ain't me. So I might ride on the back of the bus, but I'm not going to be the pilot. I already know that. I am self-aware enough where I'm not going to be the pilot. So if that's the application where we are going to use that in the real world, it doesn't apply to me. I'm not going to be the pilot. So I told the teacher after class respectfully, I said, hey, respectfully, I'm going to struggle with this. I'm not good at this. What I'm going to do, I'm going to come to your class every single day. I'm not going to skip class, but I'm going to come here. I'm going to do all of my other homework for all of my other classes. I'm not going to do your work. I'm not going to cause a disturbance. I'm going to sit in the back. I'm going to do my work. And that's what I'm going to do. And she goes, yeah, but then you're going to fail the class. And I said, that's okay. I'll go to summer school because summer school is like daycare and babysitting. I'll go to summer school for 2 weeks. I'll struggle through 2 weeks of this and I'll get a participation grade of a C just for showing up to summer school rather than rack my brain and still fail the class and get an F. And she looked at me and she said, you might be one of the smartest students that I have. Because I was self-aware enough to know that I can struggle through this for an entire year and still get an F, do my work, rack my brain, get stressed out and still get an F. Or I have learned the system of go to summer school for 2 weeks, babysitting, and get a participation grade and get a C. So that's what I did. For Algebra 1 and Algebra 2, I did not a lick of algebra. I went to summer school and got a C. So I identified in the system the least resistance to me getting the outcome that I wanted. And a huge benefit of that was also in high school, I never had homework because I did my work during algebra. So everyone else is doing homework, I'm out. My homework is done in algebra. I have beat the game. I beat the game of school. I beat the game of algebra. And I think that I was doing that my entire life. But that was my earliest recollection of identifying a path to get what I want without having to go the conventional route. And I think that when my teacher told me, instead of chastising me or instead of telling me how much of a fool I was, when she put her glasses down like this and she told me, you might be one of the smartest students I've ever had, that was like, very, very good for me at that time as, a teenager coming into a young adult where like, you don't have to fit into this mold. You don't have to fit into this box. And it's okay to find a different path and your own path to success. And I think that was a big, big turning point for me. And if it wasn't for that interaction, maybe none of this ever would have happened.
Within finding the opportunities, you've obviously jam-packed your schedule. And I would love to know at what point you deem that you're able to buy back like your freedom from that business. Because my understanding is most of the businesses now just tick over and you are only involved if you kind of choose to be.
So you have to have very, very good people in place if you ever want to get to the point where it is not all encompassing of you. So for the tree service, I have very good people. For the lawn service, very good people. For the computer repair business, very good people. My brick and mortar store, very good people. I've never had to ring the cash register one time. Not a single transaction. We've been open every single day for almost 6 years. Very good people. So I think a lot of that starts with putting in place very good people, taking very good care of them, and paying them very good a wage that they deserve. I take care of everybody. I have done business with thousands of people. Not a single person has come up and said, yo, this guy scammed me. Never. Not a single person. I take care of everybody, and in return, everybody takes care of me. So I think that if you do want to, be able to take a little bit of a step out, it starts with the people that you do have in place, and putting them in place with having a mutual respect for what they do, and them also having a mutual respect for you as a coworker and a business owner. So for me, on the tree service, when I work on the tree service still to this day, I take the rake job. And the rake job on the hierarchy or the totem pole of a tree service or a lawn service is an entry-level position, and it's the worst job to have. It's hard work. You are the one putting the heaviest stuff in the truck. You are the one working the latest because everyone else is done. They're wrapping up. Maybe they're taking 5, taking 10, and you're still cleaning up. So it is the bottom of the barrel as far as the chain of command on a tree service. And I'm the owner. And I've had more people than I can tell you come out of their house, treat me like a dog because they saw me with the rake. More people than I can tell you treat me like a dog because they saw me pushing a rake. And then when I come afterwards with $250,000 of equipment sitting in front of their truck and introduce myself as the owner and look for the pay, they turn white as a ghost and their whole entire being changes. And that taught me a lot about people too. So I always get dirty. I always take the lowest job, the hardest job, the most back-breaking job. And by doing that, it gains the respect of everybody around you. And, I think being dependable is a huge thing, and being there for everybody when everybody needs you, and, having employees and, 50 employees. Like I wake up with 50 employees across everything. It is a huge, immense responsibility because not only do I have 50 employees, they all have 5 family members, whether they have kids, a spouse, grandparents. I'm responsible for 250 people eating every single day. Yeah. It is an immense responsibility. But, due to the businesses that I've set up, the profit that it affords us, and we run very lean. I am low cost, no cost to the max. We run very lean. We are highly profitable. I thankful because I live off of eBay money, can get these immense savings in these bank accounts where if we never do a job for a year, everybody is paid and covered. So they know that as well. They know that, hey, I have security. They know this guy's going to jump in here with us if we need help. They know every single thing, that I am the most loyal person in the world to them, no matter what they need. And that same amount of respect that I put into the business and give to them, they put into the business and give to me, which makes it easier to put people in place, pay them very well, but in change, they perform very well for the business. They keep everybody in order, in line, and then the business makes a lot of money. So, fortunately enough, I have very, very good people in place for the businesses. There is also like a family dynamic in the lawn business and the tree service where the guy who runs the tree service, his brother also runs the lawn service. And then his dad kind of keeps an eye on the pressure cleaning, sprinkler, and pool service. So there's like a family dynamic in there that like even I can't get involved with. So like sometimes they got to handle family business, and that's great too. So like they do their thing. They are very happy, very fortunate, just like I am very happy, very fortunate. But I think it starts with good people and good systems. That's it.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because a lot of what you teach is just to make the simplest systems possible so that they are just repeatable and replicable no matter who you are able to employ to put in there. But if you're hiring on like the idea that you're buying back your time so that you can go off into other things, like you've got to be really careful. But changing it to the framework of if you look after these people, they'll look after you is a really nice way of viewing employment.
That's tried and true and undefeated. If you are good to people, people will be good to you. And if you hire good people, people will be good. And I think like the idea of buying back your time is literally that. Like you are paying money, voluntarily taking a pay cut so that way you can step back. And, with eBay sellers, you have to be cautious of that, because a lot of people will hire their first employee and then their listing goal remains the same. And if you are doing that, you are voluntarily signing the dotted line that I am taking a pay cut. So if you're going to hire someone as an employee for eBay, my personal opinion, your listings must go up proportionally. That way, if you were doing 30, now you hire someone else to do 30, you've doubled the business. And if you make a $20 profit on your 30, you have $600 profit coming into the business. You pay them 100, 120, 150. You have 450 coming into the business. So now this employee is an asset, where a lot of people, especially in the reselling space, they can hire an employee and that employee becomes a liability.
Yeah, I see that a lot, that people like employ just so that they can then step back themselves rather than hire, in the instance where then it goes from 30 to 60 or from 60 to 120.
And I'll tell you this right now. Me not working day to day on the tree service, the lawn service, the pool service, all that costs me money. Because I have to pay somebody to be me. But luckily the business is profitable and in a place where it can do so, where I can literally hire somebody to be me. And like you said, buy back the time. But if it was not profitable to do so, best believe I would still be out there pushing a rake and still acquiring new jobs and still getting it in. So like, if you are buying your time, you are literally voluntarily taking a pay cut by hiring somebody to be you so you can go do something else. If you are hiring an employee for expansion and you are still working there side by side, then your business becomes more profitable, and that's how you build. So like in that aspect, you're not buying back your time because you're still there every single day in the trenches putting in a job. And for most people, their first hire is always going to be a mirror image of themselves. We're going to hire someone to help ship and help take photos, maybe help source. Like they're going to do exactly what we do. That's every business's first hire is a duplication of oneself. After that, then you can start hire specialists. And then once your business matures, then you can hire someone maybe only to take photos and list, maybe only to ship, and your business can still thrive because everything else is going well. And then after that, then you have to start hiring professionals. Like once your business grows past that, then you start hiring professionals. Then you have to look into HR. Then you have to look into, legal representation and people on retainers. And those people don't drive revenue to the business. Those people cost the business money, but hopefully your business has grown enough where then you can hire those people, but you need them out of necessity. So the first hire for every single business, all the way back to my lawn service, was my friend had experience cutting grass. I was the duplication of him. We didn't hire someone who knew how to, do fertilization. That's a specialist. We didn't hire someone that can spray for bugs and do pest control. That's a specialist. That stuff doesn't come until your business matures and goes to the next level where you can afford to hire these people that are specialists to kind of fragment and go off on their own and make the business better from that approach. So, if I am a firm believer, and I'm the boss of nobody, people can do whatever they want to do. I think for the eBay business, the first hire is the duplication of oneself to double the output on a daily basis.
I've never thought about it, about the duplication versus the specialty position within the business. That's a really interesting framework.
That's how all businesses are built.
Yeah, I've just never thought about it like that, and I feel like that's just unlocked part of my brain that was not unlocked before.
So like Pepsi, Coca-Cola, whatever, they have specialists now, and then they also got to that second tier of now we need HR, now we need a CFO now, and all of those people cost money without directly like driving revenue to the bottom line, because the HR isn't out there doing sales or doing the mechanical portion. They are there to manage the people so the people can do the sales and the mechanical portion. And before you get HR or a C-suite or things like that, you at the top have to wear all of those hats and keep everybody in line. But every business's first employee is just a rubber stamp duplication of oneself to double output. After that, then you can start hiring specialists. And hopefully when you hire a specialist, they come with their own unique expertise. And then that unique expertise can catapult the business from that aspect.
You also once told me something that I didn't think of that either, is that before you hire your first person, your processes are your employees.
That's right.
Like shipping process is an employee to you.
That's
Because
right.
if it's not working right, or it's not set up right, or it's not, then you have to spend time managing that process. It deflects from you making money, deflects from the time you're able to spend. And ever since I started looking at my processes in that way, like, how much managing does this process require? This
That's
process
right.
is supposed to just run with the minimal input from me. I've been able to refine things and do so much more just by looking at it that way.
Absolutely. All of the processes are the employees, even when you have employees. And then all of our product is employees as well. Like, we have to manage each and every one of those and make sure that they are doing their job accordingly. And the job of every single item that we list is to go out and get more money. Like, that is the job of our items. So yeah, managing your processes and making sure that they're not getting out of whack, making sure that they are streamlined, improving if need be, all of that takes time. And yeah, when you are a solopreneur, your processes are 100% your employees.
Listening to you talk about all this and how things grow and evolve and progress, it just like solidifies for me again and again how important it is for your business to be profitable beyond paying your bills, and how important it is for you to have a grip on your metrics and your numbers. And because I'm not going to be able to take advantage of any possibilities if I'm constantly struggling just to get through the month in my business. And some people only resell for a bit of extra money, and that's okay. Or they only resell to pay the bills, and that's okay. I have bigger ambitions than that. But I'm never going to get to that level if I'm constantly just working towards the end of next month or the month after. And I'm lucky that currently we're a lot more fortunate at that and we are able to build. But putting more time and effort and focus into maximizing the capital my business can generate really is that first proper step to trying to evolve out of reselling.
Yeah, I think a lot of that comes from a few things. I think that, like you said, if you are happy doing it on the side for additional income, supplemental income, if you're happy, not working a job, but doing this as your job and paying all of your bills, I love it. If that's what you're happy for, I love it. For you guys, you're not happy with that, so I don't love that portion of it. You guys want more, and that's great. That's what I want for you. But if Hanley sat here and said, hey, I don't want to work a conventional job. I want to be home with the kids, and I want to make enough money to pay all of my bills and then do the same thing next month. That's what I want to do. I love it. Absolutely love it. Excellent. Great. So I think that, when we are in that mind state, and I was in this mind state for a large portion of my life where it was my job to wake up, go make money, take that money, and then pay all the bills on Friday. I was in that mind state for a long time. And I think the second iteration of that mind state is now, okay, my bills are paid. I have utilized money to go to work, sell my time, because that's what we're doing when we go to work. We're selling our time. And if you make $10 an hour, you are voluntarily selling your time for $10 an hour. That's what you're saying you're worth. And when I got a 5-cent raise at CVS, they were valuing my time at 5 cents more. I was selling them my time for $10.05. That's how much I was selling my time for. And at this time, I thought we were supposed to go to work. We were supposed to make money. We were supposed to pay our bills and give our money to somebody else. That's what I thought. And then, I matured, got more of an education. And then I thought I'm supposed to go to work. I'm supposed to show a paper trail of a reliable income. I'm supposed to get a mortgage, and I'm supposed to spend the next 30 years paying off this mortgage. That's what I thought money was for. And then I figured out that money is not to pay bills. Money is not to prove self-worth and then go get a mortgage that you'll have to pay for the next 30 years. I figured out that money, the true fundamental principle of money, is to have the money, make the money, and then have that money go out and make more money for you. And that is the difference between somebody that understands money and somebody that does not understand money. So if you don't understand money, you go to work all week and then you go give it to somebody else. Once you understand money, you realize that this money's purpose and job on the face of the earth is to have this money go to work for you and bring back more money. And, if like we said, if you're happy going to work and paying all the bills, fine. But the opportunities that money affords you, if you can get some capital set aside and then invest it, whether it is whatever vehicle you want. If you like the stock market, great. You like Bitcoin, great. You like putting it into a CD or a high yield savings account, great. You like putting it into real estate, great. They all have their benefits. They all have their disadvantages. They all have their risks. Some of them are safer than others. But if you can take money, put it into a 5% CD or a 4.9 or 4.7, whatever it is, if you're able to have the discipline and save up 50,000, you can get a portion of that back without actually selling your time to get it. Or if you can save up 100,000 and you can get 5%, and then you could grow it and it compounds, and then you have more money to make more money without you actively going out and selling your time to do it. I think that, a lot of it does take education. You can't just go out there willy-nilly and make these decisions and choices. So we have to be, disciplined on acquiring that knowledge. But, looking at money differently, and with eBay, multiplying that money or putting our money to work. I'm going to buy this for 5, put my money to work, sell it for 20. Like, that's our money at work on a very small, granular, individual scale. And then having this pot of money at the end of it and saying, okay, this money is too much for me to invest back into my business because I'm not capable of listing these items. So so the number one investment that all of us can make every single day of the week is to wake up, invest in ourselves, and invest into a profitable business. That is the best investment that we can do. And the best investment that we can invest in business-wise personally is in a reselling business because the margins are ridiculous. And once we get past the point where our payouts become larger than what we can actually list on a weekly basis, all of that money we need to put towards the side and then start gaining an education and identifying these other opportunities where we can start putting our money at work, where we are not actively selling our time to the eBay machine or selling our time to our CVS job and things like that. And we can have this money over here working for us instead of us raking the grass in the summertime or, having a tree limb fall on you or getting chlorine spilt on your skin. Like we can utilize this money to go out and make more money for us.
I'm so curious because I hope you don't mind me saying, but you decided to invest in real estate when that money became so much. And you said gain the education about it. I know with eBay, you mostly had to figure that out for yourself. I'm curious, did you choose to do any sort of like webinars or like courses to educate yourself in regards to real estate? Or is that largely that you figured that out on your own as well?
So a large amount of it was figuring it out, watching a lot of YouTube videos, and you can go to YouTube University. But I have gone to seminars. I have take courses. I have, bought certain resources to kind of shortcut my way over there. And one of the best resources that I bought for real estate was a $40 spreadsheet where you can type in the numbers and it'll easily do the math for you. Like before, I was doing pencil and paper and got to do it 100 times to make sure it's right. And I'm not great with Excel. Like I'm not the smartest person. I'm not a genius. And this guy had a spreadsheet that I saw on a YouTube short. And I said, dang, for $40, I don't have to second guess myself every single time I write stuff down and do it 5 times, 6 times. Yeah, I'm not opposed to, getting around the right people, putting myself in the right room, putting myself in the right situation, shaking the right hands, because, much like reselling, if people don't know you, then they can't put you into the deal flow. And like, if you want to get into the deal flow with real estate, some of that stuff doesn't even trade hands or trade on the public market. Some of that stuff trades off market because people that have a lot of money don't like people in their business. So like some of that stuff is off market. Now, is every off market deal good? No. But like some of that stuff doesn't even make it to the masses or to the public. It makes it just as far as a broker who goes, you know what? I know Sam. Sam, this is a deal for Sam. Or you know what? I know Hanley. This is a deal for Hanley. We don't even got to put this online. And then the deal gets there. So like a lot of it is networking, a lot of it is who you know, and also a lot of it is what you know. And I think that, much like eBay, we can spend 2 years watching every single eBay reseller video on YouTube and never list an item. But a large part of it is you have to get into it. You have to actively see what it's about. And a lot of learning for me personally is the old fashioned way. Like I love to learn the old fashioned way, and that's by doing. Is it going to be perfect all the time? No, but can you make it as perfect as possible with the skill set that you have? Sure. So, I've tried to get around successful people. It's difficult, but I've tried to get around successful people, talk to successful people, place myself in the position where, I can make introductions and things like that. And, having this opportunity that we have where we can utilize eBay to make a living at home, multiply the money, it's a glitch in the matrix. And like, I just beg and plead everybody to take full control and just take this full opportunity and take it while we have it. Cause who knows, it might not be around forever with the advancements in AI. Maybe we got 3 years, 5 years, 10 years before the landscape of what we do is different. So like we have to be like looters in a riot at this point where we got to get as much as we possibly can and then put that money into other things that are maybe more stable, more safe for the, longevity of us and our best interest as well.
Something I've really found is that reselling really gives you so many advantages, like even in real estate, is being able to, like, the profit you make is really in the buy, and it's the same as in reselling. Like it's kind of the fundamental.
And I think that like one of the best things that I ever did was when my son was really young, I got him involved in different aspects of the business and according to what his maturity level and how old he was. So the first thing that I had my son doing, like I said, I was a single dad, so he was my best friend. He was with me 24 hours a day. We were partners in everything. So the first job that he ever had in my business, he was very young, was picking up the sticky things on the poly bags. And that's a great job for a little kid because they have static electricity. They get stuck to them. So I would rip them off and I would throw them all on the floor. And that would keep him busy for an hour. He's picking up all these things. It's getting stuck. It's fun. It's on his clothes. If he's got them all, I crumble them up and throw them back on the floor. Like that was the best job. That was his entry level job. And that helped me a lot in keeping him entertained so I can do all of my shipping. As he matured and got older, I said, hey, snap some photographs, help me do this. So in the summer, he would take 10 pictures. Were the pictures great? No. Were they usable sometimes? Not even usable. Were they close enough? And I threw them up and said, hey, this is your listing. We used your photos. This sold. Yeah, sure. Were they perfect? No, he was 8 years old. Did I have him help pick stock? Did I have him, go to the thrift store? Did he go to the flea market with me from time to time? Absolutely. But once he became a certain age, around 12 or 13 years old, I started teaching him more about the money aspect of it, money management. I started teaching him cash flow. I started teaching him, we put $5 in. How long are we going to have to wait for our return on this $5? And then once we get 20, what are we going to do with it now? Well, we can go buy 4 items. With those 4, we can sell those for 20. Now we have 80. Okay, what are we going to do with those now? All the way up to the point where I used to pretend and say, hey, because I used to pay him always. I used to pay him for all of his jobs, $1 or $2. I had cheap labor back then. It was great. So I used to pay him $1 or $2, $3 to perform a task. And he always had a rule where he can save half and spend half. Because if you don't let a kid spend any money, what are they working for? So they can always save half, spend half, and then they don't end up spending half anyways, and they end up saving it. So, he was pretty young and he had, a couple $100, a few $100 because he had been working for years. And I used to pretend, I used to be like, hey, forgot to go to the bank today, but I'm going to the flea market tomorrow. Could you loan me $200? And he would be like, yeah, sure, here's $200. I would take the $200. I would come home and give him $200 back. Next week, I would say, hey, I forgot to go to the bank. Can you loan me $200? Yeah, sure. He'd give me the $200. I give him $200 back. And then I would tell him and I say, hey, do you understand what a loan is? He goes, no, I don't know what that is. I'm just helping you out. I say, yeah, it's one thing to help someone out, but I'm asking for a loan. So if you have to go to a bank for a loan, are they just going to help you out? And he says, I'm not sure. So we go on the website. I show him and I say, hey, if you ask for a loan, they're going to ask for a percentage in a return for giving you the loan. So I said, every single time that I forget to go to the bank, because that's my fault, I'm not prepared, I don't have the money, and I'm asking you for more money than I have right now. So that is a little bit irresponsible on my part. And if you have to go get a personal loan or something like that, maybe something didn't go right. So like, we hopefully should never get into that position where we are requiring a personal loan, and PayPal will whack you for 27%. So like, we don't want to get into that position. So I taught him, if you're going to loan out your money, then you should get a percent back. So I taught him how loans work. I taught him how percent returns work. So if I took out 200, I went to the flea market, I got to give him 205, all the way to the point where he used to come to me on Friday and go, yo, did you go to the bank? Because he understood, if you don't go to the bank, I can use this money and loan it to you, and you're going to give me back 205. You're going to give me back 210. If I loan you 400, I make $10. So all of these things, teaching them bookkeeping, accounting, teaching them how money works, cash flow, inventory management, taking photos, the mechanical portion, advertising, listing, customer service, dealing with returns. All of that stuff for eBay sets you up for real world application and running businesses in the real world. And I think getting your kids involved, even if they are young, there's a job for every single kid at every single stage of their maturity and age, starting from throwing these static electricity pull-off tabs from the poly bag. You can keep a 5-year-old interested with that for a half day. And that lets you take photos while they're over here playing with this stuff. So, or, cutting down boxes or ripping up boxes and playing in boxes. Like, there's a lot of stuff. And then we got to clean up. We got to reset to zero. This is our job today. So like, I think getting kids involved in that. And I think for us, all of us, if we do choose or wish to do something past eBay preps us to get all of this stuff done, because we have to wear 45 different hats, all the way from accounting, taxes, marketing, customer acquisition, customer service, product acquisition, warehouse management, inventory level. We have to do all of this stuff, and all of this stuff directly translates into running all of the other businesses out there as well.
My 9-year-old is currently the picking trolley because she wants to make money. So she'll like come to the unit and walk with, and then when you pick something, give it to her and she'll put it at the shipping station. And she's a bit expensive. She charges £2.50 an hour, so she does. But but we're also just trying to involve them as much as we can. My 5-year-old, not so much. I had my husband put like wooden, like these ones behind me, the paneling up. And we have crayons in the warehouse, and all my walls are covered with drawings because I wanted the kids to decorate it so that one day I can take it off and take it with me, and it's like in our family business. So she's not that into working yet, but
hey, but art is a job too. You know, the guy that did art in the Facebook office, he didn't get the payout, but he took stock and it was worth 200 million. So maybe this young child is very smart and she has stock in Hanley LLC. And she's going to cash that out for the 200 million one day.
She's going to have to pay me to cover up this work. But I can see the difference in my 9-year-old though. The difference in how she's viewing money. The difference in how she wants to spend the money. It's different now. When she goes to spend the money, the money she's earned, she's a lot less willing to spend compared to the money that I give her.
Absolutely.
Because that's not real, is
that's
it?
Right.
And then my teenager, who's 15, is going to help us with like inventorying and picking items as well. And you genuinely can see such a difference in the way they view life, the same as how much I've changed in how I view life since I started the reselling business. Your entire perspective changes on everything.
So why did your perspective change personally?
It's the mindset difference between being a spender and being a saver. Where just like you, I thought the purpose of money was to increase lifestyle, to keep up with the neighbors. It was to live a superficial life that society tells us we want to live, very much so. And then only coming into the business, learning how money works, actually working hard for my own money, not just going to a 9-to-5 that's someone else's business that I don't really care about. I'm just here to do the bare minimum to get paid. And then turning that around and actually caring about your business, caring about the money you're making, being intimately involved in every single pound, dollar I make. It's just completely changed my mindset from spending to a saving and the value of money and ways to use money to make more money. But it's interesting because the purpose of making money has changed. It's no longer to spend it, which has been interesting.
Yeah. And that takes a lot of discipline to come out of that mind state of, money burns a hole in my pocket. I have to go out and spend it on something and things like that. And also like during the COVID years where all the stimulus was coming out, that was another good lesson that my son picked up on pretty good because he understood how money works. So like, his mom and I, we haven't been together in a long time. And, that side of the family, stimulus, they're getting stimulus. And he said his uncle got a new Sony TV. His other uncle got a PlayStation, this and that. And he got in the car one day and he said, you know who got the stimulus? I said, who? He said, Sony. And I said, you're absolutely right. Because they took the money and they went out and bought a big screen TV. They went out and bought a PlayStation. Whereas if they would have taken that $700 or $1,200, and he said, you could go to the thrift store and you can have 2,000 or 4,000. And like, people, they complain about their job. They complain about this and that. And that was an opportunity where, you get this money, and instead of turning it into more money, the people that got the actual stimulus were these companies that were selling these goods to people that had excess money. So, just looking at things a little bit differently and hearing that from him at the time. And he was like, I don't know, 15 or so. It was pretty interesting.
He's right, though. I don't think, like when tax return season hits, I heard you say that your goal is to get as many people's tax returns as possible.
Yeah, just give it to me.
And then you'll submit your own taxes.
Yeah, just give it to me. Yeah. You need your trees cut down. It's tax time. How much is your return this month? All right, you get $800 back. I'll do you for $600. Like keep a little 200, but just give me 600 of it. Yeah, absolutely. Why not?
It's a motto I've adopted because our tax season it ends the 30th of June. So I haven't submitted my taxes yet. I got to do it on the 17th of this month because I was busy trying to build the business to be able to get as many tax returns as I could. And then I'll go sort mine out.
The interesting thing about making money, we don't have to make the money. They've already made it for us. They've already printed it. We don't have to make it. We just have to get a couple little pieces of it and then keep it with us. That's it. There's trillions and trillions of dollars circulating the face of the earth. We just need to get a couple dollars of it. We don't have to print it. We don't have to make it. It's already out there. We just have to divert it in our direction. That's all.
Spending a lot of time being the perfect consumer, because in South Africa, life is a lot more materialistic, I feel like. And like the new iPhone comes out, we're all going to have it. The new, whatever the case is, it's spending so much time. And the funny thing is, I went to college after school to study marketing. So I like knew all these tricks and I still fell for every single one of them. But being that person who lived that life, you can use that to your benefit in reselling. You can use it when selling items. And what a lot of people don't understand, and like the view that the group kind of has, is in service of the customer and getting people to buy your items, where that comes in a lot better when you understand the mentality of people.
Absolutely. For me, like I've never been materialistic, and that could have probably gone one or two ways. My mom was a single mom. My only memories and recollections of her was always working. So like she used to work from 2 p.m, from 10 p.m, and then she used to work another job from 11 to 7, and she was a waitress. So she would just leave one restaurant, go to the other. The only time I saw my mom was at 7 a.m, and she only came home at 7 to make sure we went to school. That was it. So I saw her between 7 and 8. When we were at school, she would go to sleep or run the errands that need to be ran during the day. So like we didn't have a lot of excess. We had what we needed. I always had to fend for myself. I grew up on a lot of Chef Boyardee ravioli and bagel bites and all of those kind of things. But like when I started to find my own success and maybe having money, it could have went in one or two directions where I would started splurging and then buy these excess things. And maybe when I was a little bit younger, I was a little more splurgy, but I was always smart. I was always disciplined. I've always been a saver my entire life, always been a saver rather than a spender because, I figured out somehow really quickly that having money is power and having power means having opportunities. And, there was a lot of times where a lot of our problems growing up could have been solved if my mom was able to write a check for them. And I distinctly remember there was a time where my mom broke her arm. She fell down and she was still a waitress. She was still trying to wait tables and must have been extremely hard. And at that time, she was working at a restaurant where it was required to be carried out like this, so like 30 pounds of food like this. And she had a broken arm. And she wasn't a spring chicken. And, it was very, very hard. And I remember one time, we didn't have food and my mom called someone who she had to swallow all of her pride and call starve. And my mom melted to the ground in a ball and in a puddle of tears. And I knew if we had a couple more dollars, my mom wouldn't be in this position. So I knew like if you had money, money solves the problem. And we didn't have any money. And so once I was able to get money, I was able to save money. And there's been a lot of problems that I've had in my life personally. My life is by no means perfect, but every single time that I've been able to sign a check and solve that problem, my life has been much better after that. And a lot of problems can be solved just by signing a check.
So to you, money's not what it can buy you, it's what it can solve. I think
it's everything. It's everything. Like if my radiator breaks on the car today, I've been in positions where I couldn't pay for it. There was one time where something happened with my transmission and I had to save up an entire summer to pay for the transmission. I was bumming rides. I was walking to work. I was showing up sweaty to work. I was riding the bus. And because I couldn't afford to pay for the transmission. And if I was able to sign a check and pay for the transmission, my life would have been so much easier back then. And it was an issue with the transmission. I brought my transmission into the mechanic and I was expecting like an $800 bill. And I was so scared to bring it to the mechanic because I didn't even have any money at all. And when I brought it to the mechanic, it wasn't $800. It was a tube that leads to the transmission broke. Thus, I was having transmission problems and it ended up being $125. But because I was so fearful of not being able to get this fixed, I worked and saved for an entire summer, went without because I knew no matter what, if I bring it in, I'm screwed. I can't pay for this because I got to tow it in. I don't even have money to tow it in. So I'm going to have to tow it in and I better have enough money to pay for this transmission. $800. I towed it in and they told me it was a pipe and it was $125. But had I had the money, I wouldn't have been walking to work for months at a time, sweating, getting to work. Do you know how demoralizing it is to be sweaty when you get to work and then have to deal with customers all day? Like you're self-conscious, you know, and like I had to do that for a summer. And if I would have just took my car to the mechanic, paid $75 to tow it and $125 to fix the tube, I would have been back on the road in no time. But I didn't even, I was so fearful of that because I knew I needed more money than that to fix this. And it didn't even end up being that. So like, there's a lot of things in life, that happen where, if you're tired, we've all been in the position where our tire goes down and we're screwed because we don't have enough money for the tire. Or like, I had to make a choice for a large portion of my life where either get chips or a drink. I couldn't afford to get both. And now like I walk in and get 10 drinks and 10 chips if I want to, so like just little stuff like that. And just understanding that, the harder I worked and the better that I made myself, and the more of an education that I got and the more effort that I put into myself and my business on a daily basis, that the better life has gotten. So, I could have sat on the couch and I could have just said, this is life and be happy with that. But, you know, fortunately, my son came along and kind of kicked me into gear and, you know, helped make me the person that I am today. But always, every single time I put more effort in, every single time that I do more of the right thing, that the payoff and the outcome is always beyond whatever my expectations were. And so that's why, like, I have no problem putting in effort. I have no problem taking advantage of the next opportunity, because that's all I want. All I want in life is an opportunity. Arwin would go, why do you go to 3 flea markets in a day? I'm just looking for the opportunity. That's it. Just give me an opportunity on a daily basis and I'll make something happen. And with all of these days that we have, like they're not guaranteed. They're not going to be forever. But what we have is we have an opportunity every single day to take advantage of something, to put ourselves into a better position. And all I'm looking for every single day is just an opportunity. That's it.
I feel like sometimes people have a disconnect that they don't go out and find the opportunity. And like everything that you shared, and I really appreciate you sharing everything that you have, is that you constantly seek to better yourself and better your family and better your future. And if everyone just stepped outside their door, I think that would fundamentally change their future.
Yeah, but like that takes effort. It doesn't happen by accident. It takes effort. Am I 24/7 like bettering? No. But like every single day I want to get a little tiny bit better, for not only for myself but for everybody. And like, you know, my wife and I, we had this goal to really get after it for 15 years, you know, create the investments that we have, you know, have the goals that we did, take the 50-year vacation. And like, if I get hit by a bus tomorrow and I don't get the 50-year vacation, like my mission is already accomplished. Like I've already won the game. I've already won. Everything that happens after this is a bonus. And like, if I don't get to see the Great Wall of China, or I never go down to Australia, or I never go to Europe, I've already won. I've won. Everybody is taken care of. No one can say anything negative about me to my son or to my wife. I've already beat the game. I've won. Everything after this is a bonus and extra credit. But it took immense sacrifice from my wife and I to get to that point where we have condensed a lifetime's worth of work into a smaller chunk. But like the number one goal that I've always had in life, ever since, you know, I held my son in my arms, was to make sure that he was good. And being the very loyal person that I am, I have the most loyalty to him. And as I said, we grew up best friends, and my number one priority is to make sure he's good. And a large part of me doing the podcast in the very beginning was to talk to him. Because when I started the podcast 7 years ago, he was 14. He wasn't ready to hear the messages. Now, if I do get hit by a bus, he can turn these on, and I have hundreds and thousands of hours of relaying the messages that I need him to hear. Because whether you guys know it or not, the original Tech Tuesday used to be with him on Tuesday nights, Wednesday nights, Thursday nights, Friday nights, where I would go in there and I would talk to him for an hour, talk to him for 30 minutes, talk to him for 45 minutes. That was the original Tech Tuesday. Did he understand what I was telling him? He had no idea what I was telling him. Did some of that stuff sink in and some of that stuff stick? Absolutely. But the original Tech Tuesday, the original podcast, was in his room, standing by the door, talking to him and just trying to get something to stick of, you know, we have to build these foundations as people. We have to be positive, productive humans on the face of the earth. There's a million ways to do it. We just got to choose one, and we just got to get this thing figured out. And, you know, did I have to sacrifice a lot? Yes. Have I, for as long as I can remember, gotten the freedom to wake up and do exactly what I wanted to do, choose what I wanted to do? Absolutely. And do I consider myself one of the most luckiest people on the face of the earth? Absolutely. Because if tomorrow, Saturday, if I want to wake up early and go to the flea market, even though I'm not eBay world domination, that's my choice. I can go do that. Whereas once upon a time, it wasn't my choice. I had to go to work. Whereas if my son would have had a baseball game, I would have missed it. But I'm sitting here right now as a single father that has never missed a single thing that my son was involved in, whether it was him getting a certificate, whether him being selected to speak after his DARE course, whether it was a parent teacher meeting, a baseball game, even if it was so boring, because I'm going to tell you this right now, honor roll ceremonies are boring. You got 200 kids, your kid is on there for 5 seconds. It's already expected he's supposed to be up there. So like, we ain't celebrating nothing. This is an expectation. But when they look out in the crowd and he knows I set up in the back and his face lights up because he finds me, that's why we're there. Could I have went to work and skipped honor roll? Absolutely. But me showing up for everything every single time is not about going to the honor roll. It's about him knowing that I have his back forever. I have his back for life. Where if he gets in a jam today, the first person he calls without hesitation is me because he knows I'm going to be there. And eBay afforded me that because I was able to build my schedule around what was important to him and what was important to us. Whereas I never had to beg my boss and say, hey, my son has an assembly today at 11 o'clock. I know I just got here at 9. I know there's no one here that can cover. Can I get away and go to this assembly? And then tell me no. I've never had to do that. So to have this much freedom, to have this many options, to have this many opportunities, we are all immensely blessed. And I don't think a lot of people see that what we have is truly remarkable, truly a gift, where you can get to the point after, working hard, accomplishing your goals, where you can wake up tomorrow and you get the choice to do exactly what you want to do. So today, what I wanted to do was wake up at 5 a.m. and come over here and talk to you guys. That's what I wanted to do. If I didn't want to do this, I wouldn't do this. Trust me, I would not. I don't do anything I don't want to do. That's what I wanted to do. I want to go on the treadmill later at 9 o'clock and then run the morning call for you guys. That's what I want to do. I want to go in the group today and I want to help people. That's what I want to do. And then after that, I'm going to sneaker cycle to go hang out with him. That's what I want to do today. These are all things that I want to do. If I didn't want to do them, I wouldn't do them. And we can give ourselves the opportunity where we have time freedom and we have money freedom, but it's going to take some initial sacrifice. It's going to take a lot of discipline and it's going to take a lot of planning. And the plan isn't always going to be smooth. It's not going to be a straight line. It's going to be some ups and downs, some lefts and rights, some setbacks, some accomplishments. But if we map out the plan, we're smart with the plan, we manage our time, we manage our money correctly, all of us can achieve every single thing that we're looking for, utilizing the vehicle of reselling in eBay, because it is such a huge opportunity and the greatest gift that I've personally found in my life.
I want to say something too, please. I'm so appreciative of you sharing and coming here. I don't think you understand how much it means to other people that you come on here and you share these things, especially today, things that are very close to you and that drives you. And for people in the world who go through hard things, all some of us want is to know that those people who go through hard things can still make it and can still do things, and people who come from those, because this week, the last 2 weeks have been really hard. And it's been really hard to get the work done. And I'm doing 70 a day and I'm struggling to get through it all sometimes. And then I was sitting at home and I was thinking to myself, I was thinking back to a particular day in South Africa where I was in the bedroom with my daughter and they broke it. I could hear them in my house. They broke it into my house. And I had the lock on the bedroom door. I pressed the panic button. So the sirens are going crazy, but they're in my house and I'm home alone with my daughter. And I just remember praying, I'll do whatever it takes. Just get us out of here. Please, just whatever I have to do. Just all I want is safety. All, please. Just, and I was begging, I was praying, and I was just, please, Lord, just whatever it takes, right? Whatever it takes. And then this week I was complaining to myself and I was in a foul mood with everyone because I have to get up at 5 because I have to do more. And I thought to myself, you know what? That Hunley that was on her knees with her daughter in her bedroom, just praying that she'll do anything to have safety, just bought her first house in a first world country where her kids walk to school in safety. She has money in the bank to write a check if something goes bad. I can't write massive checks, but if my car breaks down, I can get it fixed, right? And sometimes we can get so despondent when we feel like we've had to go through these hard things. And then to have someone like you come on and share these hard things that you went through and then how you built on it and where you are now is like, it's really, really today has just inspired me a lot. And I don't like, there's lots of words I can use, but you are an inspiration to people who go through hard things and who feel like sometimes they are on the back foot of the world. And I don't pretend for a minute that my problems are as big as others, but to be able to see someone build on that and come from that and then have what you have and do what you have and still be who you are is incredibly inspiring. And I don't think you realize what a gift that is to other people.
I don't know. I just come on here, answer the questions, speak the truth. And, it's just life, man. Like, life is not easy. Life is hard. Life sucks sometimes. And it's always going to be like that. Even when we think we got it all figured out, they let you know that you don't. So, you always have to be prepared for that stuff. And, we just got to try to put ourselves in the best position to navigate these things that do happen. And, another one of the principles that I talked to my son, and one of the original Tech Tuesday episodes in his room, was the lesson of the right thing is always the right thing. And I have an outstanding $10,000 offer with my son. Even when I didn't have $10,000, I made a bet with him. And I said, if you can ever show me where the right thing wasn't the right thing, I will give you $10,000. I didn't have $10,000. And every now and then in the beginning, he used to come with some sort of scenario where, well, what happens when people do this and this happens? I'm like, yeah, but they saved that person. That was still the right thing. Even though something horrible happened to them, they still saved that person. So the right thing was the right thing. And to this day, 10 years later, 12 years later, safe to say, I have not won that bet, or I have not lost that bet. So if we do the right thing is always the right thing. If we are a good person, good things happen to good people. And if we make our decisions based on that metric of the right thing is always the right thing, it helps and prevents us from taking shortcuts that might come and bite us, maybe getting a little bit too greedy, maybe making the wrong move that in the back of our mind we know is the wrong move. And I think for me, that has helped out a lot. And I've taken a lot of stuff on the chin that I could have not done it. But, the right thing was the right thing. And even if it's at my stake, that's the way that I've chosen to navigate my life, as that being the North Star of the right thing is always the right thing. And I think that, if you run your decision making through that, for business, for personal, for relationship, I think that, it makes things a little bit easier. Is life ever going to be perfect? No. There's going to be trials and tribulations every single step of the way. But, it makes things interesting. It makes you stronger as a person. And I guess to wrap it up, like you said, even when I was a kid and we had the most horrible things happening to us at the time, my mom always used to tell us everything happens for a reason. Yeah. And something would always work out where we didn't see it at the time, but it happened for a reason. Like if you look back in your life and you're like, man, these horrible things were happening, they always happened for a reason. Like I used to get in a lot of trouble. I used to hang with a lot of bad people. I used to run the streets. I used to do a lot of wild stuff. I had a son at 18 years old. And at the time I thought, oh, this isn't supposed to be happening. But if I didn't have a son, I would have continued to run the streets. I would have got in trouble. I would have hurt someone. I would have gotten myself hurt. I would have went to jail. A lot of things would have happened. But my son helped me mature. So like it happened for the right reasons and happened because it was supposed to happen. So like all of these things, they always work out and everything happens for a reason. So like for handling, when things don't go my way, and let's say I am running late, running 10 minutes, 15 minutes late, I don't worry about it. It's happening for a reason. What if I was 15 minutes early and I did get hit by the bus?
Yeah.
So like me being 15 minutes late, like this is happening for a reason. Let me just accept it. It's outside of my control. Let me accept it. I'm 15 minutes late. My bad. I'm supposed to be 15 minutes late right now for whatever reason. So, take life as it comes. Everything happens for a reason. If it's outside of your control, let it be. If it's inside of your control, just be actionable. That's it.
I love that. I wanted to say thank you for coming on here and thank you for actually sharing. Even like you were awake for 9 minutes before you jumped on this podcast.
This is rock and roll, ready to
No
go.
one would know. Yeah.
Yeah.
The ability to do that is just really profound. And
No coffee, no nothing. Rock and roll.
And yet I'm like, oh, do I hit snooze? Whereas 9 minutes, it starts the podcast. So thank you for coming on. And I really appreciate everything you've shared. I'm really excited to listen to this one back. There's so many nuggets in here.
Well, thank you guys for having me. Like I said, there's a lot of facets to all of us, but the lens a lot of people see me in is of the eBay guy who, again, the right thing is always the right thing. We got to follow the policy, this and that, kind of like hard nosed and no negotiation. And that is one facet of me. And when I come on here, I'm performing a duty, I'm performing a job. I know people are looking for information, they're looking for the right information. I speak in policy and speak in fact. If I'm speculating, I will tell you so. But that's me for 1 hour on Zoom. So when Zoom closes, I am a different person and I do a different thing. So, I just thank you guys for being on here. You guys know how much I'm rooting for the both of you every single day. And, both of your success is immensely important to me. And I've said it before, and if you guys want this, I'm sure both of you will be $1 million sellers. And that is what I am rooting for you. And I know that you guys are going to accomplish a lot of great things. And, I really care about the both of you a lot. And all I want you guys to do is just to find your success, whatever it may be, find your happiness and utilize what has really helped me, for the last 15 plus years in your favor. So that way, you guys can build the things that you want and have the life that you guys want. So I just thank you for having me on. I'm happy to come on at any time. You guys ask great questions and, happy to talk about it so long as it just helps one person. If 1,000 people listen to this, if one person finds it helpful, then it's mission accomplished for me.
If anyone has any questions for Tech, please leave them in the comment section and we can either get him back on or we can have him answer them on his podcast. I will link his podcast down below as well. I'm sure that everyone who watches us already knows who you are, but I will definitely do that. And thank you again for coming on here. This has been great for me. I don't know about you, Hanley, but this has been great for me.
No problem.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.